Hi everyone, it's Jai452 back again with a bunch of cosplayers doing the Cosplay podcast. So, with that being said, I'm going to let these wonderful cosplayers introduce themselves, starting with the one and only Insane Cosplay.
Hey, howdy hey. I'm John Murray, also known as Insane Cosplay. I'm joined by my friend Shannon Jones.
Hi.
And next up we have the one and only...
It's Craig at Sorcerer Supreme of Scotland on Instagram and Sorcerer Supreme of Scotland on Facebook.
Awesome. Followed by...
Well, I guess that's it. My name's James, this is B. Together we are Can Be Cosplay.
Followed by... We only got 2 people left. Don't be shy, guys.
I'm Lewis, also known as the Scottish Elliowood. I am a Fire Emblem cosplayer, so please feel free to like me.
And rounding up the cosplay group that we have for today is the amazing...
Hey guys, my name is David Green, and I'm also known as Mental Haggis Cosplay on Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, so we're all here today, guys, just to chill and have some fun for a little bit. We also might be joined by the wonderful DC Superjack and the wonderful Tegan at some point, so be on the lookout for them. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start the topic by talking about a cosplay that completely almost drove me off the deep end this year. Now, as some of you guys know, I do a lot of Harley Quinn cosplays. Or, as I like to call it, Hayden Quinn, because that would be the son of Harley. Now, with the Suicide Squad finally being out, I had somewhat of a basis to work off for redoing the costume. And I know some of you guys were disappointed, but I wasn't walking around in shorts. I mean, come on, we all live in the UK. It's not exactly a warm country.
You need to be comfy with what you're doing, and I think that's one of the biggest issues with cosplayers is we get so focused on like dedication to character and how it looks that we forget to be, comfortable. And after conventions, we're popping blisters left, right, and centre, and chafing, and all these things.
You don't want to be too warm, too cold as well, especially in a very. I'll say it right now, some cases, not all, but a very poorly air-conditioned area for about, maybe 7 or 8 hours?
Something like that. But
there's no such thing as shorts.
But living in Scotland, I kind of realised it, climate-wise, probably not a good idea. I learned my lesson from when I did Poison Ivy. So I decided I was going to do a little bit of a mishmash. So I took my classic style trousers for Harley Quinn and used them as opposed to shorts, which I don't think anybody had any major disagreement with. I made the tops pretty standard, but the one, or should I say the 2 things that drove me mad was the Harley Quinn wristbands, because I wanted to go classic for them. And making a frilled wristband is a lot easier said than done. And of course, the dyeing of the wig. That was something that I had never ever done before. But I'm happy to say it's something that I learned how to do this past year.
Hey!
So, very simple process. I mean, you can look it up on YouTube, but the process that I used was, oddly enough, Sharpies. And, now, you're supposed to use rubbing alcohol, but if you're able to get a liquid form of, well, not liquid, but a kind of somewhat gelatin form of rubbing alcohol, which is actually used in, I think it's hand sanitizer, it works just as well. In fact, it has the same validity because what you're supposed to use, you're supposed to use at least 70 to 75% rubbing alcohol, which is what is in hand sanitizer. They have at least 70% in there. So, yeah. That was a fun little thing to do. And I'm really proud with how it turned out. And I'm sure James and B and David can tell you that it turned out really, really well when they saw my wig. You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was nice, very vibrant.
Very, very vibrant.
That was one of the best wigs I saw that day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
So, what about you guys? What cosplays have drove you mad that you maybe learned a little something from this year? Let's start with Craig.
Well, seeing as this year has pretty much been dominated by a certain red-caped, collared, goateed sorcerer, which may or may not be played by Benedict Cumberbatch. No, I'm being serious though. Like, I've not really done much else this year, with the exception of different versions of Doctor Strange. Like, I did at the very beginning of this year, as a little kind of retrospective, because I guess that's what this whole podcast is about.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of this year, I did Cassian Andor from Rogue One, Diego Luna's character, and I did Michael Myers. Both very, very simple. Oh.
Let's get a round of applause.
I really want to bring him back. I should bring him back for the Halloween reboot they're doing next year, which I'm very much looking forward to. Anyway, I'm going off topic. I did those. They were both very simple cosplays, but no, this year has mostly just been my MCU Doctor Strange and also my Classic Strange, which I revisited for MCM in September. Both, I can safely say I have definitely improved them from last time. Well, last year in the case of my MCU Strange, and since 2015 for my Comic Strange. I thought, okay, right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right, and I figured, what little tiny things that don't necessarily need improved on my movie Strange could I improve anyway? So I looked around getting a replacement cloak of levitation, which luckily I found one on eBay that was sold by another Doctor Strange cosplayer who I follow on Instagram. And I was able to get it for a good price because he knew me from Instagram. And I thought, okay, I also need to find a way for it to attach the robe properly. I've, I had to mod certain pieces like the belts just to make it a bit more form-fitting. When I got my spell rings, I encountered a problem with the I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures, but the time spell has two little pieces that go over the wrists and onto the forearms. And the arm bracers I had were too bulky, so they couldn't fit over the top of them properly, so I had to just completely ditch those and remake them from scratch and sew them to the undershirt. And it actually turned out pretty well, and it still works to this day. And just little things like that, and even little things of, okay, how can I carry my sling ring when I'm not using it, and just little things like that. And I have to go through this process all again next year when I do Ragnarok Strange. Oh wait, spoiler for next year. Yeah, I am working on that. To get it commissioned.
So was there anything that you specifically learned, like maybe a skill that you didn't have previously?
Yes. For the collar piece for my Classic Strange, I bought the costume. Overall, it looked pretty good, but there was a little bit of work that needed to be done on it. Like, for example, I needed to, add the spots to the gloves, and also there's a little wave pattern on Comics Doctor Strange's cloak, and so I did that again in Sharpie. I think the main lesson we've learned from this podcast is that Sharpie is basically the answer to anything in cosplay. But the main thing is that Doctor Strange, the character, he's like 90% cloak, and so I was like, okay, I need to get this spot on. And one of the big parts about that is the collar. Now, the collar piece on my comics one, wasn't really it didn't really kind of stay up properly, and it was kind of a bit floppy and just didn't really look that right. I eventually discovered when I took it apart that it was held together by two little plastic pieces of wire that weren't even bendable. And I was like, right, this isn't really that great. This is kind of naff. So what I ended up doing to keep it stationary in that kind of position was that I got one of those, the biggest size of art folder you can find. Because the plastic, again, it wasn't too heavy. It stayed in its shape for the whole weekend, and I basically cut a piece of that to the shape of the collar, basically opened it apart, shoved it inside the pattern, and yeah, it's a very simple method of doing that as well.
Awesome. Let's move along and see what... I'm just going to pick somebody at random. B learned this year. What kind of cosplay drove you mad, and what cosplay did you learn from this year?
Me? Oh, right, okay. Well, there were little bits and pieces of different cosplays that drove me up nutty. For example, getting my hair right for Scottish Moor, and then, yeah, that was hard. I don't know if you've spray painted your entire head before, but it becomes so brittle.
Yeah,
and just like, hey, I'm gonna touch my hair, and you're like, oh god, I think I'm gonna tear out by the root.
A warning to all future Joker cosplayers.
Yeah, if you can, do it with paint. Try and do it with actual paint, like Snazaroo and that, instead of using the spray stuff out of a can. It's not good. And when James was helping me spray it, I literally had to run out of the bathroom, breathe for a minute or so, and then run back in again at least 3 or 4 times because I'm asthmatic. And we were spray painting in a bathroom.
Piece of advice on that front, guys. Like, I know that colouring your hair is probably something that some people might look into, but if you can, go with a wig, because then you don't really need to do much to it.
Yeah.
I know some people have issues wearing wigs. Like, I was complaining to Insane Cosplay this past Saturday about, oh my god, my wig is killing me, please get it off me, it's annoying the living F out of me. But to be fair, I'd only had the wig for like 1 day at that point. So it was still relatively new.
Going back to the hair coloring discussion, I'd also recommend, even if it's something small, like for example grey hair temples, or even a character who's got kind of a white kind of stubble, like for example Negan's beard or Doctor Strange's sideburns, I would recommend hair coloring wax. It's pretty easy to find on eBay, pretty cheap. I got mine for about $5, and yeah, it's easier to put on by yourself, and it's less problematic, shall we say, than hairspray. Sorry, continue.
Good shout. I think the other thing that drove us completely daft was when James was helping me to put my patches on for Ripley.
Oh god.
What did you do Ripley this year?
Yeah, first day of Capital Sci-Fi Con, and everybody kept asking me if I was okay because they genuinely thought I was having a nosebleed. Oh yeah, because I kept on retouching up my fake blood, and people genuinely thought, because I went and had the fake blood go right into my nostril and trail on, so people genuinely thought that I'd been like smacked in the face and stuff.
That's great.
Well, in some ways that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, they did it right, but trying to put those patches on, my god, we used craft glue, super glue.
What you my godding for? It was me that did it. I was like, oh darling, can you put them on for me? You're ever so talented.
I did not say that. I just said, look,
I'm
going to have a freak out and probably tear things off the walls here, because I can't do magic things. So we tried to stick them on, and they just didn't work, because I was originally going to sew them on, but I tried to put the needle through and it just would not go through because it had like the sheeny stuff on the back of it, and it was too thick. And I'm like, I can't sew
it was like a real genuine like military flight suit or something. Sure, those things are thick because well, they're kind of made to withstand like grenades and like gunshots and stuff. So pretty sure a little sewing needle is definitely not.
And xenomorph attacks.
And our hand sewing wasn't going to get anywhere, so we tried to stick glue on it, but the craft glue with fabric glue, that was it. The fabric glue that James recommended wouldn't work, so we had to use super glue. And would you believe it? Even the super glue didn't work.
At least it lasted till the end of the con. It was like
it lasted till halfway through, and then I dropped one patch.
It's like PVA glue, craft glue, sticking glue, double-sided tape, super glue. Just like pretty much every single kind of glue under the sun, like I bought and experimented with, and they just wouldn't stick.
And the thing is, like, when the patches actually came off, there was just a mess of glue on the suit. And it was just like, oh, what was there? And I'm like, oh, it's like a little bit of alien blood.
Yeah.
Totally a little bit of alien blood.
It's like, yay, weathering,
Hey!
realism.
But
It's
no,
Ripley right after Ash died.
Yeah, let's say, safe to say Ridley Scott won't be hiring me for the next movie in the costume department.
Oh, I'll tell you this though. See that flight suit? It is the most comfortable cosplay I've ever worn in my life.
Oh yes.
I literally can beat you on that, but I'm going to save that for a little bit later.
I can relate.
I was literally just going around and I'm like, oh, I feel so baggy because it's like it's got a patch in the
like
crotch.
pajamas.
Really intense for a very well endowed man, and I am a very well endowed woman, but unfortunately my endowment is on the top of my body, underneath my chin, rather than in the crotch area. So I felt like I was wandering around with a baggy crotch all day, and I think it was Hugh had said that I should have put a cat in there, and I'm like, I'm not putting a pussy in my I am not doing that. There are children at this convention, for God's sake.
Look, it's Jonesy.
It's Jonesy down there. He's found another pussy to play with.
Whoa!
Thank you for the R rating.
We've gone from PG-13 to R within minutes.
1 minute.
Isn't that
Well, there you
great?
go.
Yeah.
There you
Yes,
go.
we're right up.
So-
Has to leave all that out.
So I'm going to ask.
And my beep, and
I'm
beep.
going to just quickly ask before.
I forget what I was going to say now.
Just going to quickly ask before we kind of move on to James, because I'm assuming he's going to say similar things. What specifically did you learn from this past year with the creation of the cosplays be?
I think for me it's kind of a lesson I'm still learning, and it's not to do with building cosplays, it's to do with actually being comfortable in your cosplays, because I have put a lot of weight on over the course of the year, and it's just trying to kind of come to terms with the fact you can still do your character. It doesn't matter if your stomach is huge, which mine is, that my butt is massive as well. You know, it's kind of just coming to terms with the fact that you can still do the character, and there's nothing wrong with you wanting to do the character just because you piled the weight on. I mean, I think that's a lesson that I think everybody, especially very self-conscious women who are starting to put the weight on, and self-conscious men who have put the weight on, to kind of just, you know, get used to the fact that it doesn't diminish your characterization. And at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, you might get a snotty kid here or there who'll come and say, "Oh, you're too fat to be Snow White," or something like that. But generally speaking, people are not going to point out. The only person who's bad about that is you. You've kind of got to deal with that. You know, nobody else is going to do it. You do it all yourself in your head as soon as you look in the mirror before you've even left the hotel.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Mm.
So I'm now going to move on to James B's partner in crime, and I'm going to ask you the same kind of question, like, what cosplays drove you mad this year, and was there anything you learned while doing these particular cosplays?
A lot of people are going to be surprised at this one. Captain America is one of the ones. That's the one I do like the most, the one that a lot of people know me for. I didn't make any of the costume, that's all like hand-bought and everything, but it doesn't exactly have any room for movement in there. So like whenever people are asking me to like do like complex poses, I can get my arm maybe like just a little bit past my belly button, and then it just like stops dead because there's like no movement in there. And because it's all like padded leather and everything, you get really, really hot, really, really unbelievably sweaty. Like even when you're like outdoors in the freezing cold and stuff, like you're just roasting your butt off, and it's not exactly pleasant. But it's one of those things, because I like the character that much, I can't help but keep coming back and wearing the costume and doing it and everything like that. So I guess what I've probably learned from that is that always wear two t-shirts under it, because then you've got one to catch the sweat, and then like, you know, it doesn't feel quite as disgusting, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wearing it stuff, because I can't like stick it in a washing machine or anything. I have to like hand wash the entire thing. So that's pretty much become the bane of my existence. And I think that really is. I think the second cosplay that I think as I love doing, it's quite a pain, is Magneto, because I've got like that Magneto helmet, but almost every con I've brought it to, as soon as the con's finished, I've had to like repair it in some way. There's either like the paint chips off, or there's like a big scratch on it that I have to cover up, or it's like currently it's got like a big huge crack down the middle, which I've got to like seal up so I can actually use it again before it like falls to bits.
Do you know the fun thing about your Magneto one? You can actually move in that.
Yeah, that's a positive. I could definitely
That's
say.
why he keeps throwing his arms out left, right, and centre. He's not doing poses for the character. He's just like, I can move.
No, I'm happy to be free. I can skip and dance and move and frolic.
Do you know that Ian McKellen felt the exact same way when he played Magneto? He's like, I can move.
Oh yeah,
there is a god.
Pretty much went from like a big cumbersome Gandalf costume,
exactly,
with padding and nothing, to like basically a skirt and a cape that you can.
And also having no makeup as well. You know, not having a big wizard beard as well.
Oh no, he liked it. He did. Yeah, like I remember watching an interview with him, and that was one of the things he loved about playing Gandalf, was the big beard. Because he literally got to sit on set, right, and stroke his beard, like, you know, in those like weird movies you see with the mafia guy, and they're stroking the beard like they would stroke the cat. Oh, there we go. We've got a little bit of music going on there.
Anything he's ever been in.
Pardon?
Or even like Christopher Lee in pretty much anything he's even been in, including Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I'm really sorry to interrupt here, but Dave McKean is coming to Dunfermline Comic Con next year.
Ooh.
Dave McKean!
Ow!
Sorry.
You guys would see that, but she's squeezing my hand in excitement there.
Dave McKean!
Yeah, it's bad that I'm thinking, who? Oh, that Dave McKean.
Don't you?
He did Sandman.
Clearly not the one.
I was thinking
whatever.
So, since we've kind of covered that, let's see what Lewis has learned this year. What kind of cosplays have you done, my dear, that have driven you mad, and also something you've learned from them?
One that drove me mad was it's actually two really. Both my Elliewood and my Ranmasar Tomei ones both drove me mad for two different things. The Elliewood was mostly because I couldn't keep the foam pads on for my armour. It was annoying. And realising that white trousers don't work well when you fall down in mud, which happened at the cosplay chess battle shoot, and it was really embarrassing. Well, not embarrassing, but it was just ridiculous by the end of it. I had to wash them after it. And I also used them for for my Victor cosplay as well, from Yuri on Ice, so I had to keep them clean for that. But also was that I really didn't like was I had to paint a shirt to make it look like Elliewood's, and it took 3 coats. Like I had to had to do one bit of it, then had to wait for about half an hour, basically watch the episode of Berserk whilst doing it, and it was just more tedious than obnoxious. And with my Ranmasar Tomei, I had to sew on most of the details of his shirt, and it took me 7 hours to get just his belt on, and it was by the end of it I just used that Wonder Web, and it worked, and it stays on fine now. So it's
good. What about something that you've learned from doing these cosplays other than must keep all white materials away from mud?
I would say I've learned not to have my Elliewood on inside because I get really, really hot in it, because I've got a shirt, a cape, a wig, boots, and trousers on, and it's not fun. It gets really, really warm.
Always really good advice, guys. Like when you're going to a particular event, make sure you know the location you're going to. If it's a hall that you've never been to before, maybe go there like a week before the con just to get a feel for the place and find out whether it's going to be somewhere that you're going to be really, really hot. Now, it might not necessarily be a busy place, but you have to add the fact that there's going to be multiple other people there, and when they're in a cramped space, that's a lot of body heat.
Yes.
A lot of body heat. Also, just on that body heat, people do sweat, as we've all kind of mentioned so far. Packing deodorant with you is a godsend. You might not necessarily use it yourself, but I'm sure there'll be somebody around you who might require some. Anywho, moving along, let's see what cosplays drove Shannon mad this year. Am I right in saying Shannon?
Yeah.
Okay, so Shannon, what cosplays have you done this year that drove you absolutely insane, hun?
Well, one of the cosplays that I had done this year was X23, and it was actually a little kind of hard trying to get the whole costume put together for the part was leather cut out.
Leather's never easy to work with.
Yeah. That was
Go ahead.
very difficult. It was my friend Walker that actually helped me with that one. But however, the inside of it came apart, and I am wearing it right now on a leather jacket. But it was also quite difficult to actually get a hold of clothes at the time as well. For the part, so I had to share John's clothes at that point.
Wow. So was there anything that you learned from doing that particular cosplay?
Never use leather, and
Buy your name bloody clothes.
yeah, that one.
A little tip for you on that front, and a little tip for anyone. When it comes to characters that wear a lot of leather, don't necessarily, especially if you're new to cosplaying, don't necessarily think that you have to have leather. You know, because, as we've just kind of said, leather is a very difficult material to work with. Leather lookalike is something that you can easily find in most material stores. I mean, I've actually got a curtain store that sells a lot of materials, and they have leather lookalike, and I actually thought it was real leather when I first looked at it. You know, it wasn't until I got really up close and actually felt the material that I could tell that it wasn't the real thing. And buying a whole meter of that is actually pretty damn cheap, and you can make a lot of different things out of just one big giant roll of leather. I mean, they're selling it to cover furniture. I'm pretty sure I could cover myself before I covered the furniture. Anywho's, Mental Haggis, tell us what cosplays you've done this year that drove you mad, and anything you learned from them.
Well, I've certainly got one in mind. The cosplay that drove me mad this year was my Napstablook cosplay from Undertale. And for anyone that doesn't know the game Undertale, the character is normally a sad little ghost, but people have done a lot of fan art about him in a kind of robot version similar to another character called Metaton. So originally I was going to do the ghost version of the cosplay, but I took it a step further in doing the robot version, and it has been my most ambitious and time-consuming cosplay to date because it involved a lot of elements: face paint makeup, making armour, using LEDs, and also wearing high heel boots.
Is that the one you wore at MCM?
That's the one I wore at MCM Glasgow on the Sunday, yes.
Yeah, so it's the one that I seen you in. That one for me was amazing. I looked at that and was like, whoa, you've pulled out all the stops, and I feel kind of inadequate next to you, so I'm not going to stand next to you. It's really amazing.
Thank you. I was really worried about getting it because it involved doing new stuff that I'd never done before, like making proper armor out of foam, and even though it was nothing on terms of other armor builds I've seen people do. been really proud of how it ended up, even though it was my first time making it, and it took quite a while to make all, because during my first times of making the shoulder pads and the chest plate, the first couple of times it didn't go so well because I was having to like learn how to like use heat guns and like bending the foam to make it curve, and measuring parts of my body so the armor will fit me. So that was one thing that I've learned over the course of this year. And also, part of my cosplay had a little light up heart on the belt, so I was wanting to use LEDs for that. So that was another thing that I had to look up into using. And how I did that was, it was just luck. I was in a local shop called The Range in Falkirk, and it had a remote control LED device that could fit in my little heart-shaped container in my belt. So that's just that's something that probably a lot of you can relate to, is like when you're looking for stuff for your cosplay, and you'll be able to just find somewhere out of nowhere that'll fit that you probably weren't even looking for.
Yeah, you end up reading every shop that you can think of. I mean, I remember when I was getting stuff to put together for the Harley one, I literally raided every single shop in the poor little town that I live in. You know, I was at that curtain fabric shop more than once, to the point now that I'm on almost first name basis with the two owners. You know, I went into, I think it was Knit One Kids, and every charity shop that I could find. Like, every cosplayer that I tend to speak to says to me, charity shops are your friends. You literally find gold mines in a charity shop. Which, to an extent, is true. You know, I'm not doubting that.
It's where I found the shirt for my Elliewood.
It's when you literally tear those shops apart looking for stuff. It's like
Scotch More effectively all came from charity shops.
Yeah, if I was going to write a book about cosplay, it would be called Charity Shops and Primark.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, Primark is absolute garbage when it comes to like real clothing that you can wear like outside in the real world. But when it comes to costume pieces, works like a dream.
Technically, I should give James into trouble for saying that, because one of my cousins works in Primark. But I think even she would slightly agree on that one. You know, because
no one works in Primark because they like the clothes. It's, you know,
they work in Primark because they need the money. But anywho,
that's like me saying I want to work in Edinburgh Airport because I like planes. No, I just like money.
No. You work in Edinburgh Airport because you want to go meow, meow, meow.
You caught me. That's what I do in the staff room every week.
I can just see it now. So, there is one person we've kind of missed out. I'm going to ask John, what was your cosplay that drove you mad this year? And was there anything you learned from them?
Well, two come to mind. The one I'm kind of known for is Beast from X-Men 3. That one's kind of a pain in the ass to do.
Yeah.
Not so much getting the clothes together, because again, charity shops are pretty much my best friend. I've been to pretty much every single one that's in Killarney right now, and they probably know me on a name basis right at this point in time. If anyone actually kind of knows me on a personal level, you'd know that it's probably the paint that I use for Beast that drives me up the wall. Mainly because it's like putting it on and taking it off. Well, scrubbing it off, should I say. I think the most famous mishap that I've had with Beast would be MCM, where I had like 6 cans worth of blue spray paint in my bag, and I had them in my bag for about a month before MCM. And when it came down to actually spray my face and spray my arms and spray my hair, almost like every single one except for the one didn't work. So I had to dub that version of Beast mid-transformation one. It was a disaster. And I know you were saying that the spray paint knows out your best friend when you're working with paint. So there we go.
Well, it can be, but it really depends, you know, on the type of spray paint you use. If you use the industrial stuff, then If you're using industrial stuff, don't use it on yourself, obviously. You know, industrial stuff props only.
The stuff I was Poundland spray, hairspray, coloured hairspray.
Okay.
Which was all right, but at the end of the day, especially if you're asthmatic, I wouldn't really recommend using it.
Okay. So, was there anything that you specifically learned other than check your spray paints beforehand?
I learned not to keep them in a bag for a month.
That's a good idea as well. Alright, so moving along, let's talk about cosplays that we've done this year that we personally thought were kind of just meh. But somebody else came along and was like, oh my god, I really love your costume, you're amazing, and you're just standing there like, what? Are we looking at the same thing? I had an interesting one this year when I wasn't actually at a con, oddly enough. I was just doing a regular kind of party with somebody and I happened to be in costume, and this person who obviously he knew me and knew that I was a cosplayer come up and was like, oh, I love your costume, and started asking me questions about it, and I'm like, how do you honestly like this cosplay? It's so basic and dull and boring. So that was interesting for me, and I really still am trying to understand why certain people just like costumes that you personally might think are rubbish, you know. So if any of you guys had any little interactions like that this year, it could have been one of the cosplays that drove you mad. For me, the Harley one, the Suicide Squad Harley one, almost came close because I was really worried about the wig. And coincidentally, when I took it off, I saw a massive blue mark and red mark on either hand. So, yeah. Anyone want to kick us off there? Cosplays that we did this year that were well received?
I could talk about well, it was a redo, but it was quite a good experience because there was a lot missing from it. So I'm sure you guys know I do Snow White. Now, when I do Snow, I put white powder on my face, my neck, down my collarbone, right the way down to where the dress cuts, and I do all of my arms and my hands to make it. I mean, obviously, I'm pale as it is anyway, but it kind of makes it a bit paler. And I always have my black wig. Well, I was staying at my mum and dad's to look after the dog because they were away on holiday somewhere. And James and I had a gig, a superhero princess walk that was in Dunfermline. So when asked, James was like, right, here's my Snow White stuff, get all of it and bring it up. Except we'd forgotten two important things. The powder and the wig cap. So when I tried to put my hair in, I was like, okay, right, what I'll do is, because we didn't have time to go down and get it because my house is different from my parents' house, it's quite far away and we don't drive. So I was like, right, I'll use a hairband, I'll tie my hair up and I'll just poke it into the wig. Well, the hairband that was round my hairbrush decided to snap, and there was no other hairbands or anything, so I basically had to go without the powder and my normal skin, and I had to go with my medium lengthish, very messy brown hair. Reasonably light brown hair. Nothing like Snow White at all. So I was feeling really, really self-conscious. I was like, oh, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. This is going to be terrible. It's all going to blow up in my face. And I was totally wrong. I felt like I was in Disney World, being paid to be one of the characters, because these kids were just... Yeah, we didn't get paid because it was voluntary, but you get what I mean. Because these kids were queuing up. They were literally queuing up to see me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And none of them cared that my hair wasn't black and that my skin wasn't pale enough. None of that mattered at all. It also didn't matter that my jacket was sitting there. None of that matters at all. It was just me being there, me talking to them, me remembering them, and it was an absolutely brilliant experience, which was happy for me because it was just a normal cosplay that I do, but I was just like, are you kidding me? This is absolutely awful, and I was not happy with what was going on, and all these kids absolutely loved it. So, my experience. the one that went wrong that actually turned out to go quite well.
So does anybody else have a little cosplay experience that initially you thought went wrong, but turned out to go really, really well?
I did. For me, it was Capital Sci-Fi Con. It was officially the first time I was using my Elliewood cosplay, and my armor pads, they weren't as well done as they are now. The safety pins were showing, and I forgot my sword. Though I've met one of my pals, and she said it looked really good even though I didn't have the sword. So it kind of made it a little better even though I didn't have Durandal with me.
Yay! Anybody else?
Well, with my Doctor Strange stuff, I guess you're kind of your own worst critic, because there's kind of things where I just look at it and I was like, oh, well, maybe I could change the way the cloak sits on my shoulders, or maybe I can my hair could be a little bit better. But then just, once you actually get to the con and people go, oh my god, that's amazing, he's great, he's just sort of like reassured as like, yeah, maybe it's just me worrying too much. And then going back to, this kind of relates to what B said, but I had a kid like walk past me at Edinburgh Comic Con and he's like, oh cool, a Doctor Strange, he even looks like him. And I'm like, thank you, small child, thank you. But as for cosplays, as for new cosplays, for Sunday of Glasgow Film and Comic Con, which is the Showmasters, the only Showmasters event in Scotland, because I had to leave straight after the con, because I had my college induction on Monday, I kind of had to think of something last minute to do to, get something that's easy to change out of, just into the car, straight back, home, traveling on the way back from Glasgow. And I thought, I could do this, but would anyone really get it? And that's Surgeon Stephen Strange, basically. I got a pair of blue hospital scrubs, did my makeup and my goatee to look like, Benedict Cumberbatch, and it's basically the same makeup I used for my my standard movie costume, and I had like a clipboard with a little brain scan of a bullet in somebody's head, and I made a little name tag and stuff, and I was like, is there really going to be enough people that are going to get that?
It's funny that you should say that, because funnily enough, that was one of the pictures of yours that I seen this year, and it didn't initially click with me that that's what you were doing to begin with. Yeah. Because when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, is he doing like one of the characters from Scrubs? No, I was like, is he doing one of the characters from Scrubs? Because like I just watched an episode of Scrubs that had Jack from Will and Grace in it, and he was playing like a doctor who had actually a little bit of a goatee. And I'm like, is he doing that character? Why would he do that character? And then it dawned on me, Doctor Strange, the surgeon style.
Yes, before pre-camouflage, pre the car accident. But I think because people had recognized me from the Saturday where I had my MCU Doctor Strange cosplay, people were like, oh, you're doing the version from the start of the movie this time. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. But, well, I guess if I'd done that on the Saturday instead of the Sunday, I don't think people would have gotten onto it. But because, people have either seen me and recognized me, or just, seen photos from Instagram, or just know that that's what I do, that's how people recognize me, and that's how, I got recognized.
Thanks. Shannon, John, and David, what about you guys? Any cosplays that you did this year that initially started out with it as a kind of, maybe this is a bad idea, but turned out to be fantastic?
Well, not so much a bad idea, but one that kind of started off as kind of like a meh, like, was my Morty Smith cosplay from Rick and Morty. And I enjoy wearing the costume, and I've been quite surprised of the great reception it's got every time I wear them. But it's just it's a simple costume. It's a yellow t-shirt, jeans, and my wig is basically the same one I use for my Shaggy cosplay. I just par it in a different style. And even for such a simple costume, I've been really surprised throughout this year. I've been getting like, oh, I've loved your Morty cosplay. You do such a great Morty. I'm like, thank you. It was literally nothing.
Shannon, Shannon, John? Simple or complex cosplays that kind of started out but turned out to be amazing?
Mine would have been Ramona Flowers, and that was Rycon. Rycon 2016. I didn't really have much to go with the costume in that. However, I had goggles lying around. A friend equipped me with a hammer. However, I didn't think that the costume was going to turn out alright, but in the end, I just got an old hoodie, skirt with chains on it and that, and just stuck some boots with it, and also a wig. The wig was annoying for the whole day at that point.
But you got a good reception with it, though, didn't
Yeah.
you? Good. What about yourself, John? Any particular cosplays that you started with and thought, this could be meh, but then people were like, oh my god, you're amazing?
I wouldn't say from this year. Like the only one I was kind of disappointed with was Willow, which I did for MCM's. I want to say Sunday. No, it was Saturday. I did Willow. It was just in regards to like the face paint and the mask, and man, it was bloody cold. But that's the only one I know that I wasn't really confident with coming in, but I did get an alright reception because, well, when you go into a comic book convention, you don't exactly expect to see wrestling fans there. So at the end of the day, it turned out alright. So
I find that a little bit of a mixture thing because there's always somebody from some form of wrestling at a Comic-Con.
Yeah, I usually find most cons there's either one sort of big wrestling guest, like for example, there's always a big wrestling guest at the Showmasters events, and there's always this one stall I walk past that's just full of wrestling memorabilia, Halloween masks, and there's a guy who runs, I don't know if he runs that stall or if he's just one of the because it's wrestling related, if he's just there because, you know, he cosplays a character or a wrestler, I should say. But he does this version of the Undertaker, and this guy's big, huge guy, sort of pushing 7 foot. He's got
I've seen him at MCM this year. He was amazing.
I'm not familiar with wrestling, but my god, that cosplay was impressive.
Oh yeah. So
also quick though, I did like a version of Akuma at Rycon. Same year that Shannon did her cosplay. Again, I wasn't really confident with that, mainly because like the hair. But I had to put my hair in like in balls, which I had to actually use limb bands for. So I had to tie my hair in limb bands. And that was just a nightmare in itself. But yeah, I got an alright reception for that. I'm not putting on that bloody thing again. That hurt back.
Could you say that again, please? Because you were going a little bit robotic for me. Okay.
What did you lose me?
Pretty much at the start of what you were just saying, kind of there, because you went completely robotic on us.
I do apologise. The other cosplay that I had in mind was Akuma, which I did for Rock. And basically, I wasn't really too confident with that. I had to use limb bands to cover my hair, to tie my hair up. I had to spray my hair red, which made me look like I went into a bar fight. Actually, it was one of the jokes that I came up with when I was on the bus up to Rycon, because the paint just melted all over my face, and I looked like I got on the wrong end of a few fists. But there we go. Got to Rycon, it went alright, but I can tell you this for right now, I am not putting that bloody tunic on again. I am not putting that on again. It was bloody freezing.
So I'm going to wrap us up with a cosplay that I did this year that was really surprising, and it was oddly enough the one that I did last Saturday, which was Elle from Death Note. Now, as a cosplay that I have done before, but it was basically just for our friend's Halloween party, which everybody at the party pretty much knew who the character was. But taking it out onto a Comic-Con event this year was something that I decided to do, and something I didn't know how it was going to be received. You know, I was like, how do I bring this character in to an event, which I was really, really happy about because it's not the same as doing a full face-painted character. For one, that was one thing that I didn't have to worry about. You know, because those of you guys who do full face-painted characters know that is a nightmare to get off at the end of the day. You know,
No, I've not done full, but I know what it's like because I've done Wario, and by the end of it, I was scratching all the paint off.
Exactly. I mean, for people who do Joker or Harley or any other character like that, you think you've got every square inch of makeup that you ended up putting on your face off, and then there's always one person that comes along, normally when you've left, and says, oh, you've got a big white streak or a big red mark or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to slap you if you don't get out of my way.
I totally feel you there, because every time I wear Jack Skellington and I have to get the makeup off, it takes about 12 face wipes to get the majority off, and then a shower to get everything else I've missed.
Yep. So doing L this year for me was an absolute relief, and it was actually the first thing I said to, I think it was you, B. I said I wasn't going to be doing Harley again for a while, because I just can't take the face makeup anymore. L is such a relief because it's, well, I initially thought, right, the worst comes to worst, face paint wise, all I'm going to have to do is like darken my eyebrows and put black circles underneath my eyes. That was before I got my wig. When I got my wig in, I tried it on, and I was like, holy crap, it actually covers the majority of my eyebrows. I don't need to worry about them. I just need to do it underneath my eyes and I'm good to go. And I did that and it worked out so well. I mean, John will tell you guys, I had so many people kind of like rushing up to me. A lot of children, oddly enough. And those of you who follow me on Instagram, you'll see those two little girls that come up to me and ask for a picture. And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem, let's do a picture. So that was something that was really interesting for me, seeing everybody resonating towards L. You know, there's even some fun ones I took with a Batman. So yeah, fun cosplays like that are really easy to do. L was extremely comfortable because it was a pair of my own jeans this time around and a white top. Last time I did L, I had to borrow a pair of jeans from someone. But yeah, simple cosplay, comfortable, effective. Coincidentally, there was an Iron Man there who James, you saw him. John, you saw him. You know what that was like for that poor guy. I mean, he could barely get up the stairs. Also, there was a Pikachu there who could barely get up the stairs, although I think they had an easier time. The Iron Man one, I remember saying to him, like, if you fall backwards on the stairs, just please don't fall on me because I will not break your fall. You will instantly crush me. But yeah, those are some wacky things that have happened this year, guys. I want to take the time now to thank everybody who has been available to come today for taking the time out and spending it with us on the Cosplay Podcast. We will hopefully be back next year with more Cosplay Roundup podcasts. And keep your eyes out on the Jai452 channel because there are more cosplay interviews coming. We're hoping to get to our 100th interview. Hoping. There will be other things happening on that channel. I mean, currently we already have some gaming things going. We've got the Telltale Game of Thrones series happening, as well as not Game of Thrones, but Injustice 2 story mode with Blair happening. So keep your eyes on them. Hopefully they'll get finished off very soon and more gaming stuff will follow. Meanwhile, if you cannot for some strange reason get enough of me, you can find me very easily on iGameOnline.net, where I work alongside all the other people at iGame. But in the meantime, I'm going to let all of these wonderful cosplayers say goodbye to you, and we'll catch you guys again really soon.
Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.